Hi everybody, it's Lynda Keane here, and today I have Maria Gerondoudis with me. She is now living in South Africa. Is that correct, Maria?
That's correct. Thank you, Lynda.
That's it. And she is a hydrotherapist out there and has many years experience. So grab yourself a tea or coffee and enjoy us chatting about all things aqua. So hi, Maria.
Hi, Lynda, and thank you so much for your time interviewing me. It's wonderful to be here and share hydro and aqua and all those wonderful things with you. Yeah, it's been a long journey. Not as long as yours, but it's been a long journey getting to where I am today.
Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us how you started, because I understand you didn't start in this career.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. I was in my mid-20s and I was studying a Master's of Architecture in America, in the University of Michigan. And then personal tragedy hit. So I lost someone that I love very dearly. And shortly afterwards, I sustained a deep laceration in my calf. And that put me out of action and really in a lot of pain. But the pain was also emotional. And so it kind of all compounded and really put me in a very dark place. So one of my very good friends at the time had been exposed to a technique which uses Shiatsu in the pool. And she suggested that I try the water Shiatsu. So I went for a session with Hilary Austin in the UK the next time that I was in the UK, because my sister was studying there at the time. And I booked some treatments. And at the end of my first session, my feet touched the floor of the pool, and I knew that my life wouldn't be the same. It was like I had come home. I resonated so profoundly with the work that I just knew that this was something that A, was very powerful, B, logically it made sense. Everything made sense about what happened. And C, that it was something that I really wanted to do and I could visualize myself doing for the rest of my life. And so my journey took a completely different turn. I gave up architecture and followed the path that unfolded organically, really. And I trained with Hilary in the UK, and then I went to the States and trained in hydrotherapy there, Poland, Israel, Holland. I did quite a lot of the water Shiatsu work in Holland. And I got my professional qualification in Shiatsu. So for those who don't know what Shiatsu is, it's the Eastern form of physiotherapy. So it uses the principles of traditional Chinese medicine, but without needles or acupuncture. And it works with finger pressure and massage and stretching to reset the flow of the body's energies in the body, and also release stiffness that's there. So it's recognized and used in many countries all over the world as a healthcare profession. Yeah, and then when I was back in South Africa in 2005, I met a pain management specialist. Her name is Professor Phyllis Berger. And she invited me to come and work with her in her facility. She had a beautiful indoor heated pool. And I came back to South Africa, I moved back to South Africa and worked with Phyllis for a number of years. And then I was invited by another professor, Dr. John Patricius, who ran a sports medicine facility in a clinic in Johannesburg called Morningside Mediclinic. And we worked with professional athletes and also just exercising individuals to address issues that had arisen in the sports injuries, chronic conditions, etc. And I had an amazing opportunity to work with incredible professionals, many, many patients, and learn from others, try new things, refine my technique. And now currently it's been lauded by doctors and specialists and researchers, so much so that 1/3 of my patient base is doctors, professionals, wellness professionals, and their families. So that's a testimony. It's not statistics, but it's a testimony to the effectiveness of the work and where it's come. And the objectives of the work are pretty simple. So I want to restore a patient's quality of life in the shortest possible time, as safely as possible, which the water provides the beautiful environment for that safety, with as little pain and effort as possible. So we don't want you spiking and then not being able to walk the next day, or not being able to move the next day, you know, so limiting the inflammation, post-session inflammation, and then to sustain that well-being for as long as possible. And that's in a nutshell what my hydrotherapy technique is about. So I've called it Geron Hydrotherapy because it's quite unique. It's not the balance of techniques that are used in the work is very unique. It's not used anywhere else, at least not that I know of. Yeah. So I thought we need to differentiate it from the colon hydrotherapies and the canine hydrotherapies and the, you know, so give it a name. Yeah. The first half of my surname was quite logical to put to it because it's my work that I've developed over the last 15 years. So here we are.
Excellent, excellent. So you say it's like a sort of, you've developed it through sort of like taking or modifying some other different techniques. So what was your sort of like foundation? Was it the Watsu and the Shiatsu?
Yes. So, well, actually a few things. So the one was the Shiatsu. So I am a Shiatsu therapist, so I can work on land as well, but I prefer to work in the water. So the water Shiatsu is the first technique that I began using in the water. I also trained in the work of Tom Myers. It's called Anatomy Trains.
Yes, I'm a fan of that as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really an amazing myofascial technique. And in the water, it's also taken into the water rather, it's far more effective because you have that buoyancy and you can mobilize the body in a way that you can't do on land. Absolutely. So suddenly you've got this freedom to release and do things that you really, it speeds up the whole process. Yeah. So there's the myofascial technique. Then I also do a type of reflexology that's called sujok. It's a hand and foot reflexology, which is Korean in origin. And I like to use that in my sessions when I prime the affected area for being worked on. And I find that once it's been primed, it's far more receptive to the massage, mobilization, stretching, etc., that it will receive. So I think essentially it's those three aspects of my work.
Very hands-on. Very hands-on.
Always. I would not get into a pool with a hydrotherapist who does not get into the pool with you. Yeah. It's just, there's no logic to it. I mean, sorry, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but yeah, that's really not going to be as effective as somebody in the water with you, working to correct your movement if you are doing aquatic exercise, and working to release your stiffness if you are doing body work.
I think that's one of the things that I, in my head, makes a definition of a therapist. To me, a therapist is a person who has hands-on. You know, I think you do need to, because you do need to sort of, you need to position, you need to feel the tissues, what's going on.
Correct.
You can't correct someone just by telling them how to move. You need to feel what's going on as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree completely, Lynda. And something that I've added more recently into my work is dynamic palpation.
Yeah.
So while they're working and they're working correctly and the muscles are active, and the fascia is active and it's stretching and then contracting, and then, you know, the palpation and mobilize the intervention of the therapist while they are working can be very powerful, because especially in the water, you have the interplay between agonist and antagonist. On land, you don't get that as much.
Yeah.
So when the agonist is working, the antagonist is completely relaxed. And then you activate the antagonist and the agonist is completely relaxed. And as a therapist, if you get in there and you take advantage of that complete relaxation and disengagement, you can release things that are quite difficult to do on land. And I shouldn't really be comparing that much on land. There's a space for land exercise and a space for land-based therapy. But when you take it into the water, you have a whole lot of tools that you don't have on land.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite agree. So you were just sort of saying about freeing things up, and I know that when I was looking at your previous talk, you were talking a little bit about adhesive capsulitis.
Yes.
Frozen shoulder, should we say? I mean, I quite agree. I treat a lot of frozen shoulder, and I always say, can we go into the pool and do this? Because I think it's so much better. So yeah, and those are very difficult to sort of work out on land, and most people sort of opt for the surgery and everything. I'm saying, no, let's try.
Yeah, but often the surgery is the wrong route to take. Yeah. I've had quite a number of patients who decided to go for a manipulation under anesthetic, and then post surgery, they're still suffering from a lot of pain. Their range isn't what it should be because there's so much scar tissue from the manipulation that now we have to break down scar tissue to actually get you to full range. So in fact, doctors or surgeons in South Africa have more recently avoided the manipulation under anesthetic. It's a tricky one because we live in a society where we want things fixed for us.
Yes.
We don't like to
instant society.
It's it must be just put money into it and make it somebody else's problem. Fix me. It's not as easy as that. If you take the time and are prepared to take the journey into your own healing, it will be far more effective than just putting it into somebody else's hands and expecting to be fixed. You've got to take responsibility for that and know that it's not going to be as easy as just, and I like it in terms of coming into the water, especially with adhesive capsulitis, so many factors contribute to releasing that capsule and releasing the stiff tissue and decreasing the pain. The first is the heat, because adhesive capsulitis, whether it's shoulder or knee, it loves heat. You want to warm those tissues up. Once they've been warmed up, then you can start applying or correcting the movement, because with the shoulder capsule, the type of movements that the shoulder is able to do are far more complex than other joints. It's probably the most complex joint in the body. So when you start a vicious cycle of pain, it really spirals down quickly because it's so complex. And simply by correcting the alignment of that joint while it's moving, and especially out of gravity, because now it can use a plane that it wasn't normally used to using out of gravity. You can then start coming out of that vicious cycle. You trigger a positive cycle just by correcting the movement. Then you've got the mobilization, the massage, the stretching. We obviously always stay within the pain limits of the person on the day. And it works. It works so effectively. I mean, there's the one patient really stands out for me because this was his last resort. This was really, and his wife phoned me about a week after his first session, and in tears basically said to me, Maria, you won't believe the difference. He was ready to commit suicide. The doctors couldn't help him anymore. He couldn't take any more medication because of other conditions that he had. So he was resigning himself to living a life in excruciating pain from this shoulder condition. And he was literally ready to end his life because he wasn't, I mean, what was there to look forward to, you know? And from the first session, he saw pain relief. So that was just the light at the end of the tunnel, just, you know, and every session after that, he could see improvement, and now he's 100%. He's one of the few patients that have really stayed in touch with me because he was so grateful for this intervention that happened in his life, and no doctor referred him. His boss was on the golf course with someone that had come to me previously and said, oh, maybe your employee wants to try some hydrotherapy. And that's how he got to me. So, you know, it's sad, A, that we don't use it as much as we should, and B, that it's a last resort, you know.
Yeah. Just think how much money the health services would save if it was the first port of call.
Absolutely.
Last.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those things where I sit there and I just don't understand. You know, we've been going in water since the beginnings of time, but it's sort of like seems to go in and out of fashion so much. But it's, I mean, I know and appreciate that we live on land. Oh, hang on.
Hello, Kitty. Oh, I love this about Zoom meetings. Expect the unexpected.
I've been trying to keep him away, but he was determined.
That's okay. He's the fish.
Yeah.
He's after my fish, Lynda.
Yes, that's it. He's going to come and chase them. Oh, dear. You're going to sit. I mean, you can stay if you're going to sit, but yes, this is the thing about Zoom. It's just have to.
Go with the love it.
He's every time I've been on the computer, he's just wanted to be so close and, you know, part of it. So if I just move that out of the way, maybe. Look, there's a little spot up there for you, Scruff. His name's Scruff.
Oh, hello.
Because every time he goes out, he comes in covered in leaves and everything. And just as a kitten, it was like, oh, he's such a scruff bag. Yeah, Scruff was his name. So, yeah. Okay.
Oh, good.
I think we're just going to have to. That's it. You go.
No, just leave him. We'll just carry on talking.
That's it. There we go. So yeah, so you know, water is sort of something that's been around forever, and
it's primal.
It is absolutely, and they used it for healing, even though they didn't understand anywhere near what we understand now about the benefits of the pool. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's the last resort, not the first port of call. And as I said, you know, it's chemical free. Well, other than the chlorine or whatever you're cleaning your pool in.
Yes.
But internally, you know,
correct.
You're putting someone up with drugs. So you know, the pharmaceutical aspect goes down because most people reduce their pain meds, if not get rid of them. And
absolutely.
Drugs that they can be on, they can sort of decrease. You know, their quality of life goes up exponentially. So why is it not a first point of call? Why is it not the GPs that sit there and say, you know, try this first? And if that doesn't work, we'll then maybe add something to it and then gradually do it from there. So we need to go back to basics, I think, is key to that. But
Well, I think that organically it'll get to that point, Lynda, and it has. I mean, I've seen it over the last 15 years where initially nobody knew about what it was, nobody considered using it, and now many doctors are referring for hydrotherapy first.
Yeah.
So we kind of but it's over a long period of time. So we are making inroads. It's taking a while, but the results are there, and you need people behind it with the right motives.
Yeah.
You know, so if it's just about making money, then it's not going to be, one of the surgeons found me in the parking lot one day and he says, I've got to stop referring people to you because I'm not getting surgeries. I have to cancel my surgeries. But he was joking.
Yeah.
But that's the reality, that if you look at the bottom line, then you're probably going to see that hydrotherapy doesn't make so much sense. But if you're looking after the patient's interests and recovery, then, and you're behaving ethically, then it makes sense, you know? And that is a positive cycle. I've found that it works exponentially, when somebody knows when you care.
Yes.
And they will then talk about you. And then if your motives are not good, and you're just there to kind of, okay, sausage factory,
turn them out.
churn them out. They know, and they're not going to come back, and they're not going to refer other people. One of my best friends says to me, Maria, stop fixing people in one session, like drag it out a bit.
Not good for the bank account. No.
Not good for the bank account. I said, watch. That's not what my gran taught me. She says, you do the right thing, it'll come back to you in other ways.
Yeah.
So, you do your best as a therapist, and you see the results that you want. And even if it's you see a person, coming right in one session, doesn't matter. That person is then going to go and tell like 5 other people, do you know what happened?
Yeah.
And now I think probably about 60% of my referrals come from the healthcare profession, so surgeons, physiotherapists, etc. And 40% comes from word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the power of word of mouth, I think, is still so much better, even in this day and age, with all the sort of like social media platforms and things like that. I think word of mouth is still the most powerful. Still the most powerful, because that is an absolute testimony.
And Google.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a whole different world, isn't it? Whole different world. So
but then you get the Google reviews, so if you've got good Google reviews, then people trust you now, so yeah, it is a very different world.
That's it. Not one that I'm used to. Yeah, that's what I always say to people. It's why I had children, so that I can hand them a phone and say, make it so it works for me. It's like, oh, how do I work this? Yeah. I don't know. So how do you think, just sort of like talking about the fascia, because this is sort of like one of my big passions, is about working and manipulating fascia in water. And we were sort of initially talking a little bit about surgery and things, and it's popped into a lot of things that we've said. But of course, once somebody's been opened up, the fascia's altered, they get air into all of that sort of system, it dries out, you've then got all the scarring and everything. So we go into the pool and we're working and we're sort of manipulating the fascia. You said sort of like that it works so much better, but can you expand on that? Can you expand what your feelings and what your thoughts are about sort of working?
Okay, yeah, with pleasure. So the first aspect is exposing it to heat. So uniform heat along the entire fascial band, which is very difficult to do on land. So if you're working a calf muscle, okay, you want the entire fascial band in the water warm and primed, and well, besides the exercise, but more, I think you were asking me more in terms of the myofascial release than the exercise, because okay, that's a different subject. But when that entire band is immersed, the uniform heat along the band will also alter the dynamic of how you're going to release it, and how it will be receptive to the palpation and massage. And then disengaging the entire band. Yeah. So completely having it buoyant and neutral. So floating in the way that we do in Geron Hydrotherapy, with the special head pillow and the floats under the legs, so that the entire body is disengaged. Then we have access to that fascial band 3-dimensionally, which is very powerful. And we can mobilize the body in that, almost visualize an astronaut, you know, and you can spin them around or turn them in a way that you want. You can stretch them in a way that you want. You can massage and mobilize and really get into that scar tissue, and get the release that you're looking for. But in my technique, I work the entire fascial band. You cannot just isolate and work the affected area. It doesn't work as well. You know, you work the whole thing. Yeah. And actually, last of all, you work the affected area, because once you've gone from the outside in, once you reach that affected area, it just melts. It just goes kind of, you know, because it's been primed by besides the sujak, and the work on the entire fascial band. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I quite agree with all of that. And I'm very much, yes, you've got an area maybe in your ankle or your shoulder or wherever, but I say I need to treat the whole body as well, especially with road traffic accidents. I have amazing results with them, and I really like working with people who've had soft tissue injury from something like that. And I say, you know, but it wasn't just your neck that was in the car. You might have whiplash in your neck, but wasn't your foot pushing down on the brake as well, and your hands gripping the steering wheel? I said every bit of your body was involved in that. You cannot just treat that one area, because it will come back and haunt you at some other point. Right? So absolutely. You know, working that whole band, I quite agree on. I think it's imperative to do that, really.
Yes, effective. Bottom line is, what we want is to get to the root of the problem and solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about sort of other aspects of being in the pool. Tell me, I mean, obviously you enjoy the hydrotherapy side of things, and is there a particular condition? Like I was saying, I like, you know, well, I like every condition really, but I have but road traffic accidents, I think, where people go, oh, you know, it's going to be years, or it's going to be this, and I can't have that. Yeah, they're my thing at the moment. But you know, do you have something that you sort of really enjoy? Or
I think what I love about working in the pool is being able to make a difference in someone's world. So especially pain conditions. I think I think I was wired to look after people in pain. Yeah. I'm that kind of person. I like to take it away, you know, and make a real tangible difference to that person's life. And knowing that the water and the work has helped in that is very rewarding for me.
Yeah.
And seeing someone slowly come out of what I call the pain hole.
Yeah.
That real dark place where you feel trapped and exhausted and depressed, and the pain is the only thing that's real for you, you know, and present every single moment of your life.
Yeah.
And you've just given up, you know. So it's a very beautiful journey to take with someone, and I'm quite honored to be able to do that, you know, to show them that, oh, there's the light. Don't worry, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And to restore them to themselves, because pain actually changes your character. I have seen people come in that are just so ratty and horrid. I mean, people that you'd think, wouldn't want to be around them.
Yeah.
And then slowly, but it's just the pain. Slowly, once the pain starts dissipating, and then you see this person emerging. and it's so beautiful. And they're back. And then when their treatments are finished and they don't need to come anymore, you look at them and you say, okay, that's who you are.
Yeah.
You back. Maureen is back.
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
So that's something that I really, really enjoy about the work, you know, that I don't know if the question that you were kind of after, or the answer that you were after, but
yeah, no, I mean, it's you know, the road traffic accident in a way is a similar thing, isn't it? It's a person who's in sort of that complete pain that they just don't know how to get. So I think it is one of the areas that sort of working in a pool that we excel in is pain and pain management. Yeah. I don't think there's anything that sort of can beat the pool in that aspect of things. Mm-hmm. So then, taking that on a slight tangent, mm-hmm. Do you use any equipment in any of your treatments, or is just the water your equipment? Do you use?
I do use equipment. So the protocols that I apply is meet the person where they need to be met in terms of how much they're capable of doing on the day. Yeah. So sometimes if someone's having a bad day, then I don't use any equipment, and the water's enough in terms of resistance and but if I find that we've reached the point where they're strong enough now, we can put a fin on, we can put some floats on, because I sometimes use floats in deep water so that we challenge the hip extension and flexion with floats, not weights. So sometimes floats, sometimes fins. Very seldom use weights in the deep end. I'll use weights in the shallow, simply because weights in the deep end then bring the spine out of alignment. So yeah, I do use equipment. I use a stretch band, mm-hmm. the TheraBand. What other equipment do I use? Well, for the kiddies, all sorts of play tools. So I stimulate play and get them to do the things that I want them to do through play. So fish that sit at the bottom of the pool that they've got to dive for, floating toys that they've got to reach for and kind of collect or walk towards, or things like that. So so I do use equipment.
That would be a nice combination, wouldn't it, to be able to train some of the swimming teachers in elements of therapy as well, so that they could smoothly work with some of the children's needs and everything.
Yes,
I think that would be lovely. I could see that being a real nice, harmonious marriage.
Yes, very, very much so. No, we do have baby swimming teachers and swimming teachers that do some hydrotherapy here in South Africa. Mm-hmm. And they normally work more one-to-one with children that need hydrotherapy, because it's very difficult to work in a class and have a child need special attention all the time, So they'll take them for their swimming lesson, but then they'll challenge them in a way that's different to the other children.
Yeah, no, I think that would be lovely to see that those two marrying a lot more together. Because I think, you know, most swimming teachers have their element of one-to-ones at the time. So I think that would be good.
You know what I was thinking when you first asked me the question about being in the pool?
Yeah.
I thought that you were going to go in the direction of, as a therapist, what are the challenges of working in the pool?
Yeah. Okay.
Because there are quite a few,
Yeah.
especially when you're working in chlorine. So I found in the early days, I mean, my skin was taking a beating. So I've developed my own beeswax cream, and it's very easy to make. It's just pure beeswax with olive oil at a ratio of 1 to 3. So if it's 100 grams of beeswax, it's 300 mils of olive oil, or any other oil that you prefer. I mean, my choice is olive oil because I'm Greek.
Yeah.
We breathe olive oil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so and then you just mix them up in a pot, put them in a jar, and then it becomes like a skin seal. So I use that in the mornings before I get into the pool. It does create a bit of a film on the surface of the pool, which sometimes makes the tiles a bit dirty, but it doesn't really clog your filter or anything because it floats. So all you need to do is wipe down the tiles every so often. But other than that, it doesn't harm your pool. In fact, it's beneficial because the film on the surface of the pool actually stops the fumes of chlorine as well. So it's better for your lungs.
Yeah.
So that aspect. And then
that's an excellent tip in itself. I mean, that's I think we're going to need to everybody write that one down. And
no, it's so good. It's a natural substance. You don't some of the teachers that I know used Vaseline, you know, the petroleum jelly on your skin. But that's not, I mean, it's not a natural product, and your body does absorb things that you put onto your skin. So you don't want to be absorbing all of that. So beeswax and olive oil that's another thing my gran taught me. Don't put on your skin anything you can't eat.
Yeah, no, I'm a very big advocate of that as well. So when I'm sort of treating people and doing like any massage techniques or anything, I tend to use coconut oil. And I say, if it's good enough to go in your body, it's good enough to go on your body. You know, these other sort of made massage oils and things like that, no, chemicals.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Exactly. Your body sucks them in, and you don't want that.
No. No, absolutely.
So, yeah. And then hydration. I find that my body gets very dehydrated after a long day of being in the pool, and specifically in minerals. So it's people, you know, watch me putting salt on my food and think, oh my God, she's going to die of a heart attack. She's putting so much salt on her food. But you need the salt. Your body is depleted of minerals because you're spending so much time in the water. Your kidneys flush them out because there's more diuresis. When you spend too many hours in the water, your body wants to eliminate the water. I mean, sorry, I didn't say that properly, but the kidney function changes so that you want to pee more often.
Yeah.
And when you pee more often, minerals go with the water. So you have to replenish the minerals. There have been times where low blood pressure is an issue, but if you keep those minerals, the content in your food high, then you'll be fine. So eat lots of almonds with the magnesium and the calcium. Tahini is in my diet because it's very rich in calcium. Some eggs now and again, you know, and lots of salt, actually. So that's another aspect of the work that will keep you healthy.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, it's something that in all of these chats that we haven't actually covered very much is looking after the therapists themselves. So it's, you know, it's very good to have tips on that. you know, and sort of, again, looking after your voice. I want to get a voice coach to actually have a chat as well, so that we can talk about sort of looking after your voice as a therapist, because being in all that chlorine every day is not good for the vocal cords.
No.
And I know myself, because we had a fault with our ventilation system last December. And for 3 weeks, the humidity in the pool was absolutely horrendous. And the manager kept saying, it's fine, it's fine. And I kept saying, no, it's not, you know, and about the lifeguard's lung. And yeah, sure enough, I've had a cough now. And, you know, it's like, I can't go to the doctors because the doctor will think it's COVID. But I do have a cough that I've had ever since then that I just cannot shift, you know. So it's like, it's quite a damaging environment. That's why I say you've got to love being in it. You've got to love doing what you do, but you do need to, as you say, look after yourself.
Protect yourself. Correct.
Absolutely.
So I did have COVID.
Oh,
and yeah, that was in early April, March, April. And I had a lingering just phlegm stickiness and lung kind of fatigue from just, you know, breathlessness that stuck for quite a few months. And what helped me was the Chinese medicine acupuncture. So if there's anything that I can recommend for that is finding a good Chinese medicine doctor who will use acupuncture and phytotherapy. So the nourishing your body through the plants that give you the things that you will need for your condition. Then kind of gives the body everything, that all the tools that it would require to eliminate what needs to be eliminated.
Yes, that's a good tip as well. And the vitamin D is another one that I've been sort of like reading up on and looking at more recently, because vitamin D is a good sort of like fighter for COVID as well. And then sort of reading up on some of the research, it was also saying, well, actually, as you get older, your body doesn't absorb vitamin D the same way it does when you're younger. So, you know, sort of thinking that you're going to go out and sit in the sun and you'll get the vitamin D that way through your body in the summer. Actually, as you get older, it doesn't work the same. So, you know, sort of, I'm on my vitamin D supplements now.
Good. Yeah, no, all the different supplements. But if you are suffering from a condition, don't leave it. You know, it's important to just zap what needs to be, give your body that window or that intervention that it needs to come right and get you back to balance.
Yeah, it's all about balance. So something that you sort of, you know, some people sit there and think it's all a little bit la and a little bit out there and a little bit sort of like for the people that do the yoga and the spiritual side of things, but it's not. Our bodies do need to be in balance, and it's, you know, they might be more in tune to it, but it's something that I think gradually we're beginning to sort of bring sort of the Western medicines over to harmonizing all the systems again. So it's a long, slow struggle, because it's got to be, you know, especially over here, it's got to be proved by the science before anybody will take it seriously.
But it's getting there. Organically, you'll see that nature takes its course, and the things that are eternal and tried and tested, like the water, will resurface, and there will be a resurgence and popularity because it's so tried and tested.
Yeah.
And yeah, and sometimes it's just financial interests that are at play that restrict the use of these things, you know, because
that's a massive thing, isn't it? Financial things. The pharmaceutical companies have, you know, such a heavy sort of so much clout really in the medical industry that it's difficult. We all have to do our own little journeys.
Yeah. And we just got to go with the flow. It is what it is, and we accept that we have this much influence or this much influence, and we just work within that and try and make the world a bit better than it was.
Absolutely. So let's just bring, just before we sort of like finish off and things, let's just bring things back into the pool. And we sort of, we've now discussed about the therapists and looking after them, and we've discussed about sort of clients, but I know that you're sort of a very big advocate on using the properties of water as well as treatments. And I'm, one of the things that I say is that actually you get taught about properties of water to start with in whatever journey you're taking, be it the swimming teaching, be it down the therapy route. But I think, it's like, no, really go back over it and actually really understand about it. Really get your head around it. Don't just sort of use it as, that's just the stuff I need to get through before I can do the interesting stuff. So give me your sort of like take on that sort of side of things.
Okay, yeah. Well, for me, probably the two big ones, buoyancy and thermal conductivity. I mean, they're all big, but the stuff that really makes the water so powerful is buoyancy, which is that upward thrust of water so that we feel lighter than we do on land. And this completely offloads the body. The joints are provided with that respite from gravity. And it alleviates the impact of exercise. So I've always been an advocate of swimming. And for me, the best form of exercise for someone that doesn't have any issues is swimming, because if you're constantly impacting your joints, whether it's from running or from whatever activity you enjoy, it's going to catch up with you. When you're 50 or 60, those joints are not going to be happy to continue running. So why not start from when you're young with water exercise and swimming and activities that are low impact for your joints, so that you can protect them for as long as possible. And in terms of cardiovascular exercise, buoyancy is a very powerful factor in engaging in cardiovascular exercise without the impact on your joints. So, and the other thing that buoyancy does is it allows for larger movements with correct form. So you don't have that gravity to negotiate with anymore. So you can really move in bigger ways than you could on land. And if you add to that the stabilization of the therapist and the three-dimensional support of the water, we can really activate the right muscles and retrain them in the right groups, because muscles work in groups. So we then retrain those groups to work in the right way and stretch in the right way. Then in terms of the body work, the buoyancy obviously allows for floating in a very neutral position. And then we have three-dimensional access to the body to then apply the bodywork techniques that will give us the effects that we want. Yeah, I suppose it's that image of an astronaut in space. You can work from any angle that you want to and especially without straining your body as a therapist. You really need so much less effort to do what you want to do in the water.
Absolutely. And our bodies are in better position, because if you're you're leaning over a plinth trying to treat someone, then you're hinging and you're putting all that pressure on your lower back and everything. So at least in the water we can have a much better posture for ourselves. So again, better for the therapist all round.
Yep. Okay, coming back to the properties of water, thermal conductivity. Water transfers its temperature into the body's tissues 25 times faster than air. So literally within 10 seconds of being in warm water, it's like getting into your bath. Yeah. Within a few seconds of being in your bath, you kind of, your body is now kind of noodle consistency, the tissues are heated and they're primed for exercise and stretching and body work. And you don't need a warm-up. when you're exercising. When you're in a warm pool, you don't need a warm-up, so it saves a lot of time as well. So the few minutes of well, maybe 15 minutes that you would have spent on a warm-up during land-based exercise, you don't need that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Then the warmth also has a sedative effect on what are called nociceptors. Those are the nerve endings that detect pain or trigger pain. So you get an immediate relaxation response from the sympathetic nervous system, which then gives us a window where pain sensitivity is less. So what happens is breathing becomes deeper, guarding is less. So muscle guarding becomes less because the pain is, the sensation of pain temporarily is less. And it also reduces the muscle spasticity. So together with buoyancy, that thermal conductivity and warmth gives us a better range of motion.
Mm-hmm.
And it also makes massage, it allows the patient or makes the patient more receptive to the massage and the stretching and the body work when they're floating in a neutral position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and it also works wonders on the mood and the state of mind. It's kind of, I can do this.
Yeah.
Not so sore. I can do this. And that is critical. And we don't actually emphasize that enough in the therapy journey. That psychological aspect of, I can, you know.
I did, when I did my research, I did the, one of the subjective questionnaires that I did was the Tampa scale of kinesiophobia, that fear of movement. And the difference between doing what I was doing in the pool and my sort of contrast activity on land was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Up to about 6 to 8 weeks, it was similar, which is what you'd expect for most research. But because my research was over 12 weeks, the pain scale on the water treatment just absolutely plummeted. You know, the statistical significant difference was phenomenal. So yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. You know, the stuff on pain and the ability to move and that, and then you still think, well, if I can do it in the pool, maybe I can do it on land.
It's all here. It's all here. Then the brain registers that, oh, I can do it.
Yeah.
This is, I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I suppose the other properties of water, I'll touch on the viscosity and hydrostatic pressure because together they achieve resistance of movement on movement and the three-dimensional pressure that surrounds the joint or the affected area. So it means that movements are slower and more fluid, and you're challenged in more numerous and functional planes. Slow movements are really great in stabilizing joints and gently retraining the muscle patterns. And then the last two would be turbulence and transparency. So turbulence is that drag force that presents when you move through water, so it kind of destabilizes things. And it can be a very useful tool because water currents, they test mobility and stability. So you've got to really lock that core and move in a cohesive way to counter those currents. So no joint can move in isolation. And this reveals important information to the therapist. So as soon as the patient begins to move, then the whole body starts to tell its story.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen that in action. You know, they think that it's something upper body, and then suddenly you pick up something lower down and you say, oh, but your hip's moving a bit. Oh, I forgot to tell you I had a hip replacement. You don't think that's relevant.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
So water is about transparency, and like it or not, the truth will be revealed.
Absolutely. Very well put. Very well put. I love it, absolutely. So okay, so just to sort of, before we wrap up, if you were remembered for one thing, should you ever retire, if and when, what would you hope that people would remember you for?
Being like water, that's my maxim. So yeah, if I could be remembered as being like water in the way that I respect others and am transparent myself, like water, reveal the truth like water, you know, and often patients don't want to hear the truth, hey?
No.
So yeah, I would say that being like water and treating everybody equally. You know, you can be, I mean, I've had our president's wife, the first lady, she was a patient of mine. She gets treated just as anyone else, and in that environment she feels connected to better because she's treated like everyone else. You know, it's so it doesn't matter who you are, whether you really someone, I don't know, no one really is insignificant, but I'm just, you know, water equalizes everyone.
Well, water moves on mass, doesn't it, as well? So it's another nice thing. So, you know, by water moving on mass, you know, by being in it, we're moving, we're changing things en masse on, you know, the cellular level, and everybody that's being in, from your first lady down to, you know, us sort of like people that are sort of just living our lives, really, the normal,
the normal lay person.
That's it. We are part of that wave as well.
It's a continuum. And it's all connected. So water connects all of us. It connects every single living thing on this planet is connected by water. You know, so if we can be like water in recognizing how connected we are and respecting other people for being part of that continuum, and treating people equally, you know, I mean, water, doesn't matter how able or disabled you are, water equalizes you. You are, you know, it makes you feel just as vulnerable. So yeah, being like water.
And no matter, I mean, I don't know whether you watched the 2012 Olympics when it was here in the UK, but, you know, when we had the Paralympics on and everything, we had a guy who swam and he had no limbs. It was, you know, his arms and his legs. And it's the only sport, you know, being in the water is the only sport that you can still compete in, you know, even without your limbs and everything. So anything else, even darts or whatever, you still need to have sort of limbs to be able to play darts or sort of football, rugby, you know, all other sports need, but water, it doesn't matter.
Yep, exactly. You the same as anyone who has limbs.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And yeah, I think the motto of my work is the power of gentle. So when you know, there's something really, really powerful about being gentle. So it's that's the water.
It is. It's lovely. So it's nice to see your passion for being in the pool. It's lovely. I think, you know, I think that's the one thing, all of us water people, we have a passion for it. It's not about sort of, you know, getting the millions in the bank. It's getting the millions in the satisfaction, I think.
Absolutely. That's very well put.
Yeah. This is it, to see people that sort of like able, you know, become able to live their lives in a much more sort of peaceful way, really, and whatever it is. So
well, it was wonderful getting to know you, Lynda, and
thank you.
understanding your contributions and passion and willingness to share.
Yeah, and you. It's been lovely. It's been a joy talking to you, and you know, hopefully we'll meet up in person one day.
I would love that. I would love that. Yeah.
I would love to come and spend some time with you.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah, well, one day.
One day.
When, but yeah, maybe one day.
That's it. Absolutely. So thank you very much, Maria. Enjoy the rest.
Such a pleasure. You too, Lynda. Stay safe.
And you. All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye.